And suddenly, from heaven there came a sound like the rush of a violent wind, and it filled the entire house where they were sitting. Divided tongues as of fire appeared among them, and a tongue rested on each of them. All of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other languages as the Spirit gave them ability. Luke portrays a dramatic spectacle, a divine invasion as the Holy Spirit breaks into people's lives. When Peter addresses the crowd, he adds to the drama by quoting the prophet Joel, describing the last days when the world as people know it will end and something new will begin. It's fiery, energetic stuff. Something awesome and powerful has begun. Things will never be the same again. It may be like that for us. And from time to time, we need our lives invaded and disrupted by God's Spirit. We can forget that we're forever being called on to something new and different. Wind and fire are untamable forces, reminding us that we can't tame the Holy Spirit. The first disciples experienced the Spirit as an intoxicating energy, a bright, living force which enabled them to do amazing things. You may have experienced the bright, intoxicating energy of the Spirit, though the Spirit, from my experience at least, usually works in quiet ways, transforming people's lives without a lot of noise or drama. But neither way is right, and God relates to each of us uniquely. Contrast Luke's description with that of John. If Luke's account is hot and dramatic, John's is rather cool and gentle. Jesus said to them again, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I send you." And when he had said this, he breathed on them and said to them, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven them. If you retain the sins of any, they are retained." There's no rushing wind, no tongues of fire, no foreign languages. Jesus speaks his peace and then simply breathes on the disciples. The two accounts, separated by 50 days, are so different that some have tried to reconcile them by describing John's account as a pre-Pentecost event. But I think we simply let them stand for what they are, different accounts of the giving of the Spirit. It's a matter of allowing John to be John and Luke to be Luke. And it's the same with us. We all experience the Spirit in different ways at different times in our lives. So what we have here are two complementary descriptions of the Spirit's coming, revealing the richness of the different ways we experience God. It's a mistake to stereotype spiritual experiences. How we encounter God is as unique as our relationship to God. John tells us how Jesus breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit." It's an echo of how God breathed into Adam, the human one. And Adam became a living being, birthed by the kiss of divine breath. Jesus is breathing his life breath, the very breath of God on them. It's a very intimate image. But then, this is what God would do for us, imparting the divine life breath, transforming, renewing, healing, and restoring. The Spirit of God is like our breath, but even more intimate. We're often not aware of the Spirit, but without it we can't live our lives as Christians. It's the Spirit of God who prays in us, who offers us the gifts of love, forgiveness, kindness, goodness, gentleness, peace, and joy. John's description reminds me of a method I've found helpful when I pray or meditate, or simply want to still myself. I become conscious of my breathing. I then very gradually slow my breathing. As I do so, I take deeper and deeper breaths. And each breath becomes a breathing in of God's life breath. And slowly it permeates every part of my being. Breathe on me, breath of God. Fill me with life anew. Breathe on me, breath of God. Fill me with life anew. This recalls how a wind from God hovered over the chaos of creation and gave it shape and order. Wind, spirit, breath. They're all the same word in Hebrew and Greek, and it's this spirit, the life breath of God, that hovers over the chaos of our lives, that hovers over the chaos that we as a society have experienced during this time of crisis. The Spirit hovers and brings peace, creating something new, renewing, transforming, and resurrecting. In John's account, the Spirit is given on the evening of Easter Day as the disciples are gathered behind locked doors. John is connecting the resurrection and the Spirit. The life breath breathed into us is the same life that Jesus raised from the dead. The life that brings resurrection and hope to the many deaths, small and great, we experience in life. The room in which the disciples gathered that night was locked because of their fear. And it's into that atmosphere that Jesus walks and brings with him the word of peace and the gift of the Holy Spirit. This is how God so often comes to us. God meets us in our fears. Don't you love this? This is Artemis, and I won't edit her out because she's part of God's creation. But this, I'm saying, is how God so often comes to us. God meets us in our fears and our bewilderment, coming to us when things are scary, when we're barricaded ourselves against life. And it's into these places and times when we've locked the doors so as to hide from our shame and our guilt or our anxiety and hurt, that the Spirit comes to us and tenderly breathes into us the life-giving, peace-giving, renewing, resurrecting presence of God. John links the Spirit with the forgiveness of sins. What is the forgiveness of sins but the healing of the past, which so often prevents us from living fully in the present and rejoicing with hope for the future? The Spirit comes to heal and restore us, and receiving the Spirit, as we have at our baptism, gives us the power to carry on this work of healing through forgiveness and reconciliation. Like Luke, John makes it clear that the Spirit is given not so that we can stay where we are, but to go out and be Christ to others. As the Father has sent me, so I send you. Later in Acts, Luke describes the Holy Spirit as the Spirit of Jesus, because the early Christians soon discovered that the Spirit enabled them to be Jesus for others. C.S. Lewis said every Christian is to become a little Christ. The whole purpose of becoming a Christian is simply nothing else. We can't achieve that by ourselves, but only by allowing the Spirit to breathe the life and the character of Jesus into us, gradually transforming us so that we increasingly reflect Jesus. Today marks the end of the Easter season. However, the life and the power of Easter continues as God continues to breathe life into us and invites us to share that life, enabling us to be Jesus to others. Living God, Eternal Holy Spirit, let your bright, intoxicating energy, which fired those first disciples, fall on us to turn the world again. Amen.